Hi everyone, and welcome to Leaping Lavender event recap. Jan and I are here today. We're gonna do it with you guys, and we're in a little bit of poor lighting, so it's not gonna be amazing light. I'm gonna share my screen straight up with one of the first farms that we had a look at on the whole. Actually, I'm going to share the event because the Leap in Lavender event's super cool. So sway it up, get my screen sorted. Okay, cool. So this is the event we went to, and it was also in Sydney last night. And we got to chat to Nicholas, have lots of photos, always fun, going a bit crazy. Posting off on our Facebook page. I'm sure you did the same, Rona, down in Sydney. Yeah. So, Nicholas came and gave us a really great rundown on all the farms, which I really loved. And he was lots of fun. He's a young French guy, and has been living on or near the farms for a long time and working with his dad, and to kind of manage a whole cooperative that's set up to grow lavender, which is amazing. So we're going to talk a little bit about those co-ops. So you can see it's been all around Australia. Some have been and some are still to come, which is really exciting for some people. And we're going to have a look now at my notes. So I'm just going to get some things out of the way. It's really, I'm on this tiny little Mac, and to kind of get everything organized is really crazy. So if you guys see on my screen?
Where are you?
So where am I? I'm currently at home.
Yeah.
I only have a laptop, like a 13-inch screen. So it's just,
Oh.
yeah, I know, it happens. It's pretty funny. And an old iPhone 4S. So I do, for all the techie stuff I do, I'm pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So, what happens on a Young Living farm? So we're going to have a look at a few videos, and some images from some of the farms, but really I wanted to just read some notes out that I took from the event. And what's really clear to me with these farms, on any Young Living farm, is the dedication to perfection of seed selection and planting. So they grow them in nurseries, they select the seed, they use hybrid seeds, then and all the old heirloom seeds, which is pretty cool. They grow them in nurseries, and then they plant them out at the right time, of course, and in the correct soil, which is super duper important. And for the number of plants that Young Living have, I'm amazed at the level of there must be just so many years of perfection and research into getting these things just right, have the constituents they need to make a really powerful essential oil. They care for the plants pretty pedantically, which you can see it's got to be all just right to get those amazing oils. And to prevent disease, they rotate the crops. So with lavender specifically, they rotate those every 8 to 10 years. And they put in another crop for every 2 years. So lavender can grow for like 22 years, but they don't use it. It kind of gets less in its oil production after about 10 years. So they rotate the crop. So they pull it out and they compost it and rotate. And we'll talk a little bit about, normally in the middle of that rotation, they'll put clary sage or rosemary, something like this, to give the soil a break. And they use that for 2 years, and then go put another round of lavender. So the lavender farms are also dedicated in the research, really committed to getting it just right. They have different and interesting methods of weed control, and they use really appropriate organic fertilizers and natural things like worm farms and biodynamic principles, which I thought was really cool. And I knew it, right? And I'd seen it on some of the farms, but it was really good to get clear from Nicholas how they really do that. So one of the biggest things that I learned from from this talk was, I guess, what happens when they need to crop the lavender at exactly the right time. So, and crop it the right way, or to prevent disease. So Young Living specifically only take a certain couple of inches off the top, which is quite different to other companies that either take the whole plant, or they're very rough, I'd call it. Like Young Living seems to be really, really careful and gentle with the plant. So that's pretty cool. And they have a specific 3-rule principle that they use to cut the plant. So it's really, really clear exactly when they do that. Now, different altitudes and different different areas means there's different plants. So it's just the same as if you were to grow a basil plant over in that corner of the garden and a basil plant over in that corner. They would all grow slightly differently because the acid in the soils and different components and nutrients in the soils would change. So if we were to grow one I'm at sea level where I am, and if we were to grow one in the mountains a bit further inland, then there would definitely be a change in the plant also. So that's what I get was, it's such a big variation. It's very specific on how you have to grow lavender. They plant them in sun or a shade, planting it in the sun or a shade also gives a huge difference. So when lavender's cut when it's hot, so it loves the heat, and usually they cut it in the hottest part of the year, because that's when it has the most oil. Now, what else happens with lavender? They rest it for 2 days after they cut it. So that allows the coumarins, which is kind of like the camphor smell that you get when you cut grass. So the coumarins need to get out of that plant, or it changes the aromatics. So they leave it for 2 days. Now, normal lavender production is that they chop it and then they shred it, and that's immediately done. So there's often a lot of camphor in a lavender that you find on the shelf. Even a lavender that's a pure lavender, so 100% oil, if it hasn't been rested for those 2 days, you'll notice it has a slight camphor smell. And and also what I loved about Young Living is they also had consideration for the bees. So they let the lavender dry for 2 days so that the bees can fly away rather than getting killed. So usually lavender's like the harvester comes across in a normal lavender production and they shred it straight away, so the bees and the insects and everything like that just get munched. But in Young Living's farms, they let them dry for those 2 days so the bees can fly. And I was like, oh, that's super cute. Love that. So let's have a look at, I'm going to move my screen again, at one of the farms called Highland Flats. And you guys can see my...
Hey, Ra.
Yep.
Ra, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Rona.
Yeah, it's cutting in and out really badly.
Really bad?
Yeah. Rebecca Thompson's made a comment on there. You haven't been looking at the chat.
Okay. No, I was just focusing on what I was doing.
I don't know if you want to ask me if it's better or not.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So,
I don't know why, but it's just sort of cutting.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. So thanks for that. All right. Well, I might turn my video off as well. And so then we can see that. Oh, no. Yeah, I don't know if you guys, I think you guys can still see the screen anyway.
Yeah.
Yep. So just let me.
Yep.
Yeah, is that a bit better?
That's better. Yep. I think so. Is that better, Rebecca?
Yeah. Thanks, Beck.
Okay.
Yep. Cool. So, yeah, it's a bit better. Well, I won't play video because I think that's just going to take up. It's probably this website, Highland Flats, like all these photos. So, yeah, it's a lot of data to use. So anyway, here's some photos from Highland Flats Farms. As you can see, it's really like it's got a lot of snow, and they do a lot of harvesting with horses. So can you guys hear me a bit better now? Just when I start talking. And yeah, I know Beck said it's a little bit better.
Yeah, it's a bit better.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and there's Gary there on this side, Gary, and some of the horses that he uses. It's really cool. So this farm is in Idaho and the US, and they grow balsam fir, western red cedar, Idaho blue spruce, and those are the main oils they grow there. They're all distilled using spring water, which I thought was super cool, and it's a sustainable farm. They cut a lot of it when it's cold and freezing, because that's when the plant is in its highest state of protection, so the oil content's the highest. And they use the horses to go where no machines can go.
Yeah, it's when it's under stress, the plant, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
It's like with the lavender, they do it in the summer when it's hot and dry.
Yep.
Because it's under stress. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
it has more oil. I found that really interesting.
Yeah, amazing. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when the plant really puts out, its protection mechanism, So
yeah, that's when it produces the most oil.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So what else is there? Yeah, so they do a lot of replanting and reforestation, and they have a lot of natural pockets of forest on these farms. And and that's pretty cool. Like a lot of sustainable principles on this farm. So that's really good. Next one, we'll just whiz through them. The next one we had a look at was Guayaguil. I can never say this name. I'm sure I'll be able to say it when I go there. So they have lots of goats running around. There's a little picture of a goatee there. And they use the goat manure to fertilize the farm and the crops, and to break down, they kind of mix it up with a lot of the greenery to all of the leftover chips from the distillery. And I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of natural composting going on. They have a brick factory on that farm where they use all the mud and clay that comes out of the soil they make bricks with. So it's a mud brick farm, and they use those bricks to build the buildings, to build schools, and that's pretty damn awesome. They use worm. They have a lot of worm farms on this farm. And
what about?
Yeah.
Did you catch as well? He talked about they use the goat's milk in with the fertilizer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do.
Did you catch that?
Yeah.
At all when he?
Yeah.
All I wrote down was liquid fertilizer made from the goat's milk. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, they use the.
I don't know why or what it does, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's right. Pretty awesome farm. So it's about 2,000 acres, and planted and harvested year round, because it has this really rainy and hot climate, like tropical climate. You can see where it is here. It's right, beautiful spot there. It does. They farm ylang ylang, dorado azul, oregano, lemongrass. What else do they farm in there? Ocotea, Mastrante, and eucalyptus blue. And that's one of the farm. And you'll see here, these are the images of young ylang ylang. Pretty cool, really. So
really? Eucalyptus blue as well?
Yeah, eucalyptus blue. Yep. And on the farm alone, there's 48,000 trees of ylang ylang. They grow up to 30 meters tall and are less than 25 years old. So that's kind of, they grow them to about 25 years old, and that's when they have the best harvest, he said, between 5 years to 25 years of the farm, of the plant. So you can go on here, there's videos and things like that. So if you guys want to click on those links, you'll see it up there, seed2seal.com. You can go and watch further videos. I'm not going to do it because of the bandwidth. And did you know that ylang ylang is the fragrance of Chanel No. 5? I thought that was pretty cool. So a ylang-ylang tree over 5 years old produces 20 to 25 kilos of flowers, and you need 100 kilos of flowers for 2 litres of oil. So that works out to be about 4 trees for 2 litres of essential oil if you collected the flowers every day for its life for 5 years, right? So that's pretty, no wonder ylang-ylang is pricey. Pretty cool. Now, the next thing I wanted to share was the next farm, which is the French lavender farm.
The other thing was about the ylang-ylang Ra.
Yep.
The other thing with the ylang-ylang was I found interesting was that it's ready to pick when the centre of it becomes red.
Yeah, that's beautiful, hey?
Yeah, how it opens up. It's beautiful. It had some beautiful photos on there.
Yeah, really pretty plant, huh? So this farm can you say it, Rona? Simeloine Le Rotunda, like seriously.
Oh. Yeah, it's Simeloine Le Rotunda.
Okay, thanks. I'm going to say.
No, it's Simeloine Le Rotunda.
Yeah, cool, thanks. On this farm, there's a castle. There's a castle and a young living.
Yeah, that was better.
Yeah, thanks. Now, this is where there's a lot of history on this farm, and he went right into the story about it, about how his father was introduced to. So his father is Jean-Noël Landel, and he was introduced to natural products by his brother, who was an MD, because there was an autoimmune disease with his wife, and his brother was looking for natural remedies. So they started, I guess that they were behind this farm. And this is the farm, these are the cooperative kind of areas that Nicholas lives. So he lives in the province. And what happened, there's a whole history about this farm, and I'm not going to go into it tonight because of time. But his father really introduced Gary to a doctor, and they, like Dr. Casablanca, and Gary met also John, Jan, man, French. Thank you. Seriously. I so need to go to France so I can learn how to say these words. Yeah. Gary met him, and so they all became friends, and it was a really amazing partnership. Gary knew that this guy was distilling really powerful essential oils just from the smell. So Gary's nose is magic nose. He just knows. It's pretty cool. Now, these farms, there is over 1,500 hectares of lavender, about 3,700 acres, and France has no way, like it just doesn't have room, right? So what they do is they can't do one farm. So what they decided to do was to do cooperatives. So they chose cooperative farms in the region that were doing organic, like using organic principles and growing those really old-fashioned ways. And so there is actually 40 different Young Living associate growers as a community, and this is a massive co-op that they have where they share machinery, they share distilleries, they share the labs, they share everything. It's a really amazing cooperative situation that they've got going on there, where their number one focus is quality. So there'd be, 40 different areas or 40 different little farms that all of this lavender comes from. And they grow lavender, hyssop, rosemary, oregano, clary sage, helichrysum, and tarragon in that area.
That's what they do as well, Ra, in France, in the wine industry as well. Like they use a lot of co-ops because each individual vineyard can't afford to have their own, it's not called a distillery, own, what's it called in wine? Like the vats and everything to make, and the storage area and everything to make their own wine. So a lot of vineyards over there, they work together as co-ops, and then it comes from that actual area, like the little town sort of area that they're in, and then the wine is produced by a co-op, but it goes under the name of the town or the village.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, a lot of them do, unless they're big wineries, that have enough money to have all their own bits and pieces. But
great.
So, it's great. So it's an idea.
Really awesome way to work together. So Beck just posted something that Jean-Noel Landel learned from the second generation distiller Marcel Espieu, which he, it's really cool that it's so directly related to all of, the really old historical distillation that's actually happened in France for centuries and centuries. So, Gary's right in there. It's really cool. They also grow Einkorn, which I thought was pretty amazing. And because due to labour costs, they don't weed them by hand.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so it costs a lot to have labour in France. And what I laughed about with Nicholas was that he was saying how the French were lazy, and so he said you got to pay them a lot to work. So what they had to come up with they had to be really be really adventurous and innovative with machinery. So they've come up with a lot of machines, and he was super excited with showing us the machines that they've created to weed and plant. Pretty cool. What else was there? So they do weed between the rows by machine, and then the only weed that they'll remove out of the lavender crops is clary sage because it changes the oil. They actually leave a lot of the weeds in, and they'll go into the distillery. But most of the weeds that are left, all the weeds that are left don't have an aroma, so it doesn't affect the oil quality. What else was there that I can share about this farm? Let's have a look. So,
I wrote down about the weeding.
Yep, go, Raina.
Do you want me about the weeding, Ra?
Yep.
They weed when the plants are young, and when the plants need all the strength that they can get, like within the first 3 years, they weed.
Yep.
And because after that they actually get too high as well for the machines to get over. Yep. But they weed it so that the weeds around them when the plants are young are not all the nutrients and stuff aren't getting sucked up by the weeds.
Yep, that's exactly.
It's going into the plant. Yeah.
Yep. Great.
And they also weed because otherwise it fills up the vats.
Yeah.
Too much.
Yeah, totally. That's exactly right. So pretty cool, hey? Now, what they also talked about a lot was that the lavender blooms, this is like the difference in lavenders he talked about was, and he really, did funny little tests with us and things like that. It was really fun about learning about what true lavender is. And its Latin name is Lavandula augustifolia, as we know, because it's written on the label on the bottle. And it is the original, very old plant, and that was in France, and it kind of disappeared. So it was wild, and it was first cut from the wild and distilled on site until the start of the 20th century, and then it started to be cultivated. So they didn't really, it kind of got bred out really in France, and except for a very few tiny little handful of growers, and that's what Gary hooked into. And what else is there? So what I really loved also, and we'll go into a little bit more the difference between the lavenders, but what I got was the 300 kilos of the plant matter, like the flowers, makes 1 kilo of oil. So it actually is, it costs a lot to produce lavender. Lavender is one of the oils that Young Living, I guess, I just can't think of the word right now. My brain is like boob right now. Anyway, so they cover a lot. Like, we don't, like, doesn't make money from lavender. Oh my God. Someone else needs to run the webinar tonight. I'm like brain fuzz. I just did an hour of animal flow yoga and I'm like exhausted and like it's crazy. I like totally smashed myself in this fitness class. So, I'm like, yeah, and what else was there that was really interesting? Oh yeah, they compared helichrysum. 300 kilos of helichrysum gives 5 kilos of oil. What else is there about lavender? Lavender grows 800 to 2,400 meters above sea level. So don't try and grow it in any of your gardens in the Gold Coast. It won't work. It also is cloned mostly. The mostly lavender production is cloned. And do you want to tell me, Rona, what that's called? What the clone lavender is called?
Oh, hang on. What the clone lavender is called?
It's not true lavender. It's called.
It's just called clone. It's called clone.
Yeah, they do. That's right. So and it has, so clone lavender ends up like those fields and those pictures you see where they're just all the same. If you look up lavender, there's no pictures here on this that looks all the same, but clone lavender has the same color, the same size, the same smell, and it produces 6 times more oil than what the true lavender has. It has more resistance to disease and a higher yield. So it's the one actually used for production across the world for lavender oil. So very few people will grow the true lavender and harvest it in the traditional manner like Young Living. And the way you can tell true lavender is that it looks completely different. It has this, every single plant is unique. So it's like human beings, we're all different and unique. And that's what the true lavender looks like. So you can tell it's in a field because it's white, some of the flowers are short, some of the flowers are tall and purple, they're all different shades and colors and sizes, just like humans. Whereas the clone lavender is grown from a cutting and they all just look the same. So a little bit different. Let's have a look what else there is. So I get that without Gary, there would be very little, if any, true lavender. So these farms are some of the only producers of the population. True lavender is also called population lavender. So it's some of the only producers of population lavender in the world. And they produce more than 70% of this type of lavender market. So it makes a better oil and yeah, it's really grown in that old fashioned way. What else is there? So Lavandin is...
And it was interesting, like bringing back to what you were saying.
Yep, go Rona.
About the how it's grown in different altitudes, like the different types of lavender is grown in different altitudes. And I was actually talking to Alan about that after. It's like, because I've lived in altitude over there before, and it's like there's less oxygen in the air in altitude, so it's going to be more stressful for the plant to grow. So it's going to have a better smell about it, if you get what I mean.
Yep. Yep.
Because which one was it? 0 to 800 meters was the spike lavender. 500 to 800 meters was the lavandin. And it's the lavandin that's used in 99% of the perfume industry. And then what was the other ones? And then there was the wild. Then it goes to what altitude did it grow in? The popular. It was a mix of the both. I think
2,400.
Yeah, that's right. To 1,400. So yeah. So it's higher up if you get what I mean. So it doesn't have as much oxygen, so it's suffering more, if you like. and it produces a better oil,
Yep, exactly.
better smell. And then you've got the wild lavender. I don't know if you remember seeing that in the photos where they're actually just picking it out of the wild, but it's actually higher up again and out.
Yep.
You know, they have to hand pick it in amongst the rocks and things like that, and that's beautiful.
Yeah,
when you get the
that
wild
was
lavender.
amazing.
Yeah, so I just
Yeah.
found that was really, really interesting.
Yeah, no, we were watching the distributors hand pick it out of the rocks, hey?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was interesting when I thought about how, because of the oxygen levels.
Yeah, that's exactly
Because I know,
right.
you know, athletes go and train in altitude, so when they come back down, that they're you know, more oxygenated.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway.
Cool. And Lavandin was the clone lavender. And well, it's not clone lavender, but it is all clone these days. That's what he said. So whenever you see Lavandin done, it's all done by stems, all done by clones. It just looks all the same size in the field, same colors, and it's really high in camphor. So the process has a lot, like to grow the clone lavender, they use a lot of fertilizer and they make it grow really fast. So, and it usually goes to the perfume industry and the soap industry. So what else is there? So Nicholas did share that he was happy that at least lavender is one of the only, usually the only product, or I guess, product or scent that is a pure smell, that they don't produce chemically. They actually use an essential oil. So if you get a soap, it will have lavender essential. It won't have a chemical. However, it will be lavandin, and that is, I guess, doesn't have the medicinal properties, and maybe, grown, and when it's handed over down the line of brokers through the essential oil industry, it may be, bulked out with chemicals. You don't really know, but it's at least come from something that was real. So Nicholas kind of, with us. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What else is there? And with true lavender, the smells will all be different. So don't expect that your lavender will smell the same from Young Living. Okay, if it smells a little bit different each season, and we've noticed that with peppermint. I know that some of you have noticed that with peppermint. I definitely have over the last few years. There's been batches that smell different. And they do rotate the crops on those farms with Einkorn and rosemary and clary sage, like I mentioned before. Now, what else is there?
Well, the reason that it smells different depending on the crop is because that it is the popular lavender. It's not the cloned one, because the cloned one smells exactly the same every crop.
Yep, that's great.
If you get, it's like wine, like the wine industry in Australia. The only way that they can make a wine taste exactly the same every year is they add chemicals to it, or they add synthetic flavorings and things like that. It's more of a chemistry. Whereas over in France, they don't try to make a wine taste the same every year. That's why they have good years and bad years, and so although they are doing that more now because they've got to fit into the new world wines and things. But yeah, it's very similar actually. The essential oil way things are done and cropped and distilled and whatnot to the wine industry. There's a lot that's really similar actually. So yeah, it's interesting.
Really cool, right? So another thing I learned, they're really, really very specific about when they cut it, as I mentioned before. So they, there's what they really look for is how many bees are on it. So bees really, they are coming to the plant when it has the highest glucose, and it has the highest glucose when it's ready. So there's a lot of bees around at the harvest. And they have lots of measurements, and things that they use. And if there's, to prevent disease, what I really liked on the farms is they use white clay, or they grow them at a higher altitude. So that was pretty cool. And what else is there? There's a lot of notes in the stuff.
When it's ready to be, I've got down generally 2 weeks after the flowers begin to bloom is when it's ready to be cut.
Yep.
And that they check for the glucose level rising. When it starts to rise, it means that it's almost ready to be cut.
Yep, that's right.
But that was good. I heard you say about the bees, because you didn't say that in Sydney.
Yeah, the bees is cool. He raved on about bees in Alan, who's loved it.
Yeah, well, bees and the honey, the lavender honey's nice.
Yeah, exactly. So now we're going to go to St. Mary's farm, back there again, and the lavender that's growing there. So this is St. Mary's farm. Now this, if you guys go silver, this is where you'll go. So I'm excited because I get to go there this year. Yay! Thinking September is Silver's Club, so that's pretty exciting. Have you been yet, Rhoda, or are you coming with us in September?
No, I'm going to be coming with you.
Yay!
Yeah,
awesome.
I want to come with you.
Yep. So you guys can see there, see the lavender in the top right? Look at that. That's population lavender, right? It's all different.
It's all over the place.
Yeah. Ooh, that's right. It's like humans.
It's messy.
It's busy. So that St. Mary's lavender originated from the French wild lavender, and Gary kind of sneaked it over there and started growing this population lavender on his farm here, St. Mary's in Idaho. And what he did then was he took some of these lavender seeds back over, and that's what's propagated from the farms in the farms in Simeloine Le Rotunda. Oh my God, can't say that farm name. In France. I can say that. So interesting enough, the St. Mary's lavender blooms 1 month before any other lavender. And what is interesting about this lavender, it's actually grown at 600 meters below sea level. So it's the only population lavender to be cultivated at that low altitude. So all the French farmers said it wouldn't grow. But, Gary had some bets with them and stuff. But what's happened with it is it seems to be really resistant and really powerful plant that was grown on this and propagated on this farm and then taken back over to France.
600 meters below sea level.
Well, that's what I've written, but it's 600 meters. Well, that's what I said.
No, it'd be at 600 meters altitude, because if it's at St. Mary's.
Yeah, that's in the mountain. No, let me have a look at the map.
It'd be 600 meters in altitude.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be. Yeah, anyway. So, yeah, that's cool.
No.
Yeah. What else is there?
600 meters. Yeah, because the other ones start, anyway.
Yeah. Now, this population lavender is a superior oil due to its varying genetics. And that was something I found really interesting. So because it is, all different, it means that you get a far more powerful oil than just a clone Lavandin oil. So I thought that was really cool. And they steam distill it. They use the groundwater, which is really beautiful water, and they soften it with salt. They soften the well water with salt and turn the water into vapor, and then that steam goes into the distiller, down the path and into the tank, down the little tube and into the tank. And then what I loved about when they harvested these, and this was in France, was they used the containers that are on the back. Look, you can see them on the back of the truck there. They made these special ones in France that actually turned into the vats that they use for distilling. So that was really super cool. So it just meant that they harvested, it went straight into there, and then they plugged the distiller into the actual vat. So that was really awesome. They're not doing that yet on the St. Mary's farm here, but I'm sure that will happen So
No, but the reason they were doing that, Ra, is because it's a co-op.
yeah,
So because the farms are all out all over the place, but they're all sharing the one distillery. So that was the way of getting the lavender to the distillery from each farm. Whereas at St Mary's, it's all one big farm and one big distillery.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that was good.
glass distilled, which is really cool. So nothing, no plastic, no dodgy heavy metals touch touch any of the distillation process. And then all of the leftover plant matter on all those farms, they get taken back to the fields and get mixed with manure, and then gets composted and used back into the soil. So that's, that's what they do with all the waste matter. What else is there? Yeah, einkorn's grown on this farm as well in St Mary's. And that's the old original first species of wheat grown by man more than 12,000 years ago. It's the oldest form of wheat and has been forgotten about because it hardly has it has a very small yield. And what happens with the wheat grain and the head is that it just falls off, rather than the wheat that's grown now that's been so changed and genetically modified. It sticks to the grain, so sticks to the head. So when it's harvested, you don't lose any, whereas the einkorn just drops off when it's ripe. And einkorn just grows. It doesn't need any help or not much attention. What else is there about einkorn? It's the most nutritious grain, and if you guys have seen any of the Young Living products, I'm just going to show you. I love it, right? So let's have a look at einkorn. Young Living has like super duper yummy. They have pancakes, waffle mix, the flour, really, really yummy. And they have pasta, all sorts of really cool stuff. So that's the flour there. And they have, Young Living does a whole lot. And I just ordered mine on NFR from the States. So love it. We made the yummiest pancakes from that stuff. So well worth checking out the einkorn. And the pasta is phenomenal. It's really good. So they stone grind it using really old techniques. And that's what they do with einkorn. Pretty cool grain. So we don't eat grains in our family, but I'm pretty cool with einkorn. Yeah. And that's what I learnt from the lavender farm. So I'm going to turn off this thing that probably takes up all of the internet, and bring myself off onto the video again. So I hope you guys can still hear me. Yeah. What was super cool and that I loved is that, we got these Leap and Lavender postcards. So there is a promotion running at the moment that you can give the, you can go over there, right, to the French lavender farm and go and visit. And I'm thinking that that's not the castle, but it kind of looks like that. So, there's the castle in that picture. And that's where there's a Young Living shop at the top of that castle. Pretty cool. And it's called Drive to Win, Leap and Lavender. You can go check it out and get yourself enrolled in the promotion. It's all about enrolling people and having them join us in this powerful transformation to abundance and wellness around the world. And we got these free oils at the event. We got Citrus Fresh and Lavender, and we got some pens and a notebook from Young Living. So, it's worth going along to those events. They're really fun. And
to have
get to hang out with all your friends and smell all the oils. Actually, it was really cool because they had a lot of essential oils there, so got to test them all out. And there's a few that I hadn't even smelt yet. So it was really cool. Now, if anyone wants to come off and share anything or have questions, then we'll finish up. Nobody? Cool. All right.
There was one thing I was going to say about the Lavandin that I found interesting, because he was talking about the Lavandin, how it was, all the same, and it wasn't used much by Young Living at all and whatnot, but they do actually use lavandin and in purification.
Yeah, they do.
It's in purification. Yeah. It must just be for the smell of it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. It's particular. Lavandin had a different smell. We smelt it on that card. It has a high camphor smell. So if you think about purification, you're using it to destroy insects. So you need that high camphor smell.
Yeah, so to keep the moths away.
Yeah, it's really great. So, it's Lavandin grown. It is a clone lavender, and they did say they grew both. And it has its specific purpose.
Yeah, I just thought that was interesting because I thought, but I'm sure I've seen lavandin written on some of the products.
Yeah.
But sometimes in some of the like the personal care and things like that too.
Yeah.
So I suppose because it's a cheaper one, it's still got some constituents in it. They'd probably still use the lavender exfoliator, but they probably put that into, I don't know. Anyway, whatever they do it for. But
yeah. So it's still
doesn't hurt.
It have different properties, Rona. It would just have different properties that are specific to whatever it's, Gary's using it for. Different frequency, energetics, different constituents are different, So that's awesome. Anything else you got? Ned or Beck? Anything you guys want to share?
Hi.
Hello.
I just remember back in the day when he said about cropping the right way. He was talking about when he went camping, and he was saying that it's like a massive connection with nature, and like saying that when they do the replanting, that they were like camping like kiddies. And I just thought to myself, it's just true, right? Like, they're just so much fun, these people, which was really cool. But that's all I've got to add or offer, but I just thought that was really fun that everyone that we've heard so far, like previously with Kathy Farmer and now with Nicholas, and they kind of like, young at heart, which is really cool.
Yeah, they're all about play and relationships and just having fun. Like, life is about living and having fun. That's what they take it. It's about enjoying yourself, and we get that. That's what young living is. It's like, let's just have fun. So what can you do to have fun? It's a main focus. Really cool. Yeah. So thanks, guys. Annette, was there anything you wanted to share?
Yeah. And the last thing I was just...
Yeah, go back.
Can I just quickly ask, are you going to do a write-up like you did last time and put it into the event, or not really this time? You're just going to put this up on your YouTube? Or?
Yeah, I think I'll just put it up on my YouTube, and I'll just put brief notes like I did. I do have a document, so I'll just cut and paste just some brief outline. And, I'm sure down the track I could go through them all and script them. I'll get that done. But at this stage, just brief outline. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Because I know there were some things that you said you took notes on that I never did, and I'm like, I'd love to go through the notes and Yeah,
well, I will type, like, all these notes that I took at the thing, I will type them up. Yes, they will get typed up. So what I'm going to put on here as a note is send to Beck when I type them up, okay?
Oh, thank you.
It might not get done right now, but yeah. So, Annette, is there anything you wanted to share?
No, I think you got lots of stuff. Yeah.
Cool. So great.
And I really enjoyed the night. Like, that, just all the information. I never thought about it. I guess it's like, it's actually really good to know how they do things and why they do things and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And you got really how committed they are to quality, and every single person involved is so
Yeah.
Like, they're there because they freaking love it. They're there because they love it, right? That's big thing about young living is,
I think it was really good too, because lavender, we sort of take it for granted, you know, like it's lavender, it's your Swiss Army knife, you can use it for anything, it's easy, don't worry about it. But then when you actually go into the whole thing of how it's really like a culture and how it's been around for so long, and just all the generations of information and stuff that have come through into the farm, and you know, it's really an amazing story.
Yeah.
Even more so probably than peppermint or something. I don't know. It's just really, it's got history, you know, like it's got soul.
Oh, yeah. You'll never use your lavender bottle the same. You'll think of all those.
It's like, oh yeah, lavender. Oh yeah.
I'm thinking of all the bees that were saved. That's my favourite thing.
Anyway, it's great to swap notes with you, Ra.
Yeah, it's good, eh? Awesome. Learning. Yeah.
Love your work.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Thank you.
See you.
Bye.